Whatever you do, don't pull this plug, because the second you unplug this one connector, this exact one, right at the box, your car's tracker doesn't just go quiet, it goes completely dark. No power, no signal, no connection to the rest of the car at all. It can't phone home, it can't listen in, it can't so much as log where you went, because you've cut every wire it had in one shot. And we wouldn't want that, now would we? I'm having you on, of course, because pulling this plug is exactly what I'm about to show you. And if you've been following along, this is the third way I've shown you to shut this thing up, the most thorough of the lot at killing that box dead. Though I'll tell you straight up front, thorough isn't always the same as smart for every car, and I'll explain exactly why before you touch a thing. So here's where this fits for those of you keeping score. I showed you the fuse. Pull the fuse, you cut the power to the tracking box, and it works great. I showed you the antenna. Pull the antenna lead, and the box stays powered but goes deaf, can't reach a tower. Both good, but each one leaves a little something behind. The fuse works by cutting power, but on some cars you can't even find a fuse that's just the tracker. The antenna leaves the box awake. It can't transmit, but it's still sitting there powered up, and a powered box can still quietly log to its own memory. This third way handles the cars the other two leave stuck, because when you pull the main plug, the big wiring connector going into the telematics box itself, you're not cutting one wire, you're cutting all of them at once. The power lines and the data lines, the whole bundle. And a box with nothing plugged into it is just a dead paperweight sitting in your dash. It can't transmit, it can't receive, and it can't even hear what the rest of the car is doing because you pulled the very cable that connected it to everything. That's the cleanest kill there is, short of yanking the box out entirely. Now let me tell you exactly what we're after. That telematics box, the tracker, the module, whatever your brand calls it, is a paperback-sized unit tucked behind the dash, up under a seat, or back in the trunk area, depending on what you drive. And going into that box is a wiring harness, a fat connector, sometimes two, that carries everything the box needs: its power, its ground, and the data line that ties it into the car's internal network so it can hear what every other part of the car is doing. That main connector is the plug we're talking about. It usually has a little locking tab you press, and it pulls straight off. That's it. One plug, and the snitch is severed from the car entirely. And here's why cutting that data line matters, not just the power, because this is the part that makes the plug method more thorough than the others. That box doesn't just know where you are from its own GPS. It listens to the car's internal network. The same network that knows your speed and your braking, and depending on the car, things like your seatbelt and your doors, the little things it senses. When you pull the antenna, the box can still sit there listening to all of that and writing it down, waiting for a signal to dump it. But when you pull the main plug, you cut that listening wire too. Now the box is deaf to the car itself. It's not just cut off from the outside world, it's cut off from the inside of your own vehicle. There's nothing left for it to record. That's the difference, and it's the whole reason I wanted you to have this one. And let me tell you who this method is really for, because it solves a specific problem. Some of you went hunting for that telematics fuse after the first video and came up empty, because on your car there wasn't a clean fuse that was only the tracker. And some of you tried the antenna but couldn't get at it, or wanted the box shut down for good, not just muted. This is the answer for both of you, because here's the one thing that's true on every connected car ever built. That box has to be plugged into the car somehow. It cannot do its job floating loose. It needs power, and it needs to be wired into the network. So no matter how cleverly they hid the fuse, no matter where they tucked the antenna, there is always a main connector going into that box, and a connector, by its nature, comes apart. They can bury it, they can put it in an awkward spot, but they cannot build a box that has no plug. That's the door they can't close. Before I show you how, the same warning I always give, because I will not send you in blind. On a lot of cars, that telematics box has its own connector, and unplugging it cleanly disables it. No drama. But on some vehicles, especially the ones where they wired the tracker deep into the car's main network, pulling that plug does more than mute the tracker. It can throw warning lights across the dash, and on some cars, I'll be dead honest with you, it can keep the car from starting at all, because that box sits on the same network as things the car checks before it'll run. That's a real outcome on certain makes, not a maybe. So here's the rule. Before you go pulling connectors, look up your exact year and model, find out whether that box stands on its own or shares its wiring. And when you do pull it, do it in your own driveway with time to spare, not 5 minutes before work. Pull it, try to start the car, and if it gripes at you or won't turn over, plug it right back in, no harm done. If it's a clean, standalone connector, this is a 2-minute job and the car never blinks. If your car buries it in with everything else, you are better off with the antenna method instead. Match the method to your car, don't force it. Here's how it goes on a car where it's clean. You locate the box, look it up because it moves around by brand. You get your hands on that main harness connector. You press the release tab and you pull it straight off. Don't yank it sideways and crack the plastic. Press the tab and pull it square. Some folks tuck a bit of tape over the end or zip tie it aside so it's tidy and easy to reconnect. And do yourself one favor before you start. Disconnect the negative terminal on your battery for a couple of minutes first. It costs you nothing and it keeps you from waking up a fault by unplugging a live module. Then pull your plug, reconnect the battery, and you're done. That's the whole job. The box is now severed. To the manufacturer, to the data brokers, to the insurance company, your car has flat out disappeared. Not gone quiet, disappeared. Because the thing that talked to them isn't just muzzled, it's unplugged from the car it lived in. And before anybody calls this paranoid, this is the same data trail that got General Motors caught cold. A New York Times investigation showed GM was collecting detailed driving behavior off millions of cars and selling it through data brokers into the insurance business. One owner pulled his own file and it ran 258 pages. GM ended up paying California nearly $13 million to settle it. So when I tell you it's worth pulling that plug, I'm not spinning you a yarn. There's a signed settlement with a number on it. The only difference between the drivers who got sold and the ones who didn't is whether somebody reached in and unplugged the thing doing the selling. Now the honest cost, because I never hand you only the good half, and this is the same trade as the other two methods. When that box goes fully dark, you lose the things that genuinely need it. The big one, and hear this clearly, the automatic crash call. The SOS that dials for help on its own if you're knocked cold in a wreck. That lives in this box, and with the plug pulled, it's gone. For some folks, especially anybody who drives long, empty roads alone, that feature alone is worth leaving the whole thing be, and I won't argue with them. You also lose the phone app, the remote start, the remote lock and unlock, the Find My Car, and you lose the over-the-air updates. But that's the entire list of what the box itself does, every single thing that needed it to be connected. On most cars, your engine, your transmission, your radio, your backup camera, your heat, your airbags are all their own separate business and carry on untouched. Your car drives exactly like your car. The only exception is the one I already warned you about. On those networked vehicles where the box is tied into the systems the car checks to run, pulling it can affect starting, which is exactly why you test it in the driveway first. Where it's a standalone box, though, and that's a lot of them, you lose the connected features and nothing else. You've traded the connected conveniences for a vehicle that has quit reporting on you, and that trade is yours to make, not the dealer's. Now, you might be wondering, Hank, if I'm going this far, why not just rip the whole box out of the car and be done with it? Fair question, and here's my answer. because you don't need to, and unplugging is smarter. Pulling the box out entirely means wrestling it out of its bracket, and if you ever want it back, for resale, for a road trip, because you changed your mind, you've got to remount the thing. Unplugging the connector gets you the exact same result. The box is dead, severed, doing nothing, but it stays sitting right there in its bracket, plugged into nothing, harmless. It's the difference between unplugging a lamp and tearing the wiring out of your wall. Same dark room, a whole lot less mess, and you can turn the light back on whenever you please. Leave the box where it is, just pull its plug. And like the others, it's completely reversible, which is the whole beauty of pulling a plug instead of cutting a wire. It's a connector. You decide you want that crash call back before a long road trip, or you're getting the car ready to sell. You reach in, press it back into place until the tab clicks, and everything is exactly how the factory built it, in under a minute. Nothing cut, nothing broken, nothing permanent. One honest note: if the car threw a warning light while the box was unplugged, that light might not vanish the instant you reconnect. Some cars clear it after a few drives, some need a scan tool to reset. It's not damage, it's just the car's memory catching up. But the fix itself undoes clean. You're just deciding, on your own terms, whether that box gets to be part of your car, which is the switch they should have built into the dash in the first place, and never did. So here's the whole of it, after 40 years around these machines. They gave you 3-mile-long fine print, they hid the off switch, and they bet you would never go looking for it, let alone find 3 different ways in. Well, the fuse was 1, the antenna was 2, and this, the plug, is the 3rd and the most thorough. Pull it, and there is simply nothing left of that tracker but a dead box taking up space. Your car still does every single job you bought it to do. It just can't say one word about you to anybody ever again, not out to the world, and not even to itself. So whatever you do, don't pull that plug. They can't track you if you do. I'm Hank. No dealer pays me, no manufacturer, no insurance company, and not one of them is glad I just showed you that. Tell me down in the comments which way you went, the fuse, the antenna, or the plug, and what you drive, because the next fella reading wants to know which one's the clean job on his car. Watch out for each other.